The Lantern Keeper. Elias Turner blew out the lantern at the end of Ash Hollow Bridge on a January night in 1894, and before the smoke had even finished curling off the wick, every dog in town started screaming at once. He would spend the rest of his life, however much of it the bridge decided to give him, wishing he'd asked one more question before he did it. The town of Ash Hollow. In 1894, Ash Hollow was barely a town at all, just a scattering of 200 souls tucked into a fold of the Montana mountains, so far from the rail line that supplies came in by mule cart, and mail came in whenever Elias Turner felt like riding the 12 miles down from Bitterroot Pass to fetch it. Elias was 28 years old, the only postman for 50 miles in any direction, and about the last man in Ash Hollow anyone would have called superstitious. He'd been raised on hard facts and harder winters, the kind of man who trusted a compass over a rumor every single time. At the edge of town, where the old logging road crossed a narrow, ice-choked river, there stood a weathered wooden footbridge that had been there longer than anyone could remember. Older, some said, than the town itself. And every single night, without fail, as soon as full dark settled over the valley, a lantern hanging at the far end of that bridge lit itself. Nobody in Ash Hollow had ever seen a hand light it. Nobody had ever caught it going dark on its own, either, not once, not in living memory. The old-timers simply called it the bridge lantern and left it alone, the way you leave alone anything that's never once caused you harm. Children were told not to play near it after sundown. Nobody quite explained why, beyond a general, uneasy sense that some things were better left burning. Elias thought it was nonsense, a trick of swamp gas, or some clever rigging left behind by whoever built the bridge, kept alive out of habit and small-town superstition. He'd said as much more than once at the saloon, usual, through a round of nervous laughter and at least one old-timer crossing himself. Then, on a gray afternoon in the dead of that January, a letter arrived at the post office with no postage, no return address, and no explanation for how it had gotten there at all. Elias found it simply sitting on his own counter when he unlocked the door that morning, as if it had been waiting for him rather than delivered by anyone. The front of the envelope read only, Lantern Keeper. Midnight. Come alone. Midnight on the bridge. Elias laughed when he first read it, the way a practical man laughs at something meant to frighten children. But a practical man is also a curious one, and by the time the sun went down that evening, Elias had made up his mind to walk out to that bridge at midnight and see, with his own two eyes, exactly who or what had left him that note. He told himself it was simple detective work. He told himself a lot of things. Walking the frozen logging road under a moon bright enough to throw shadows across the snow, his boots crunching through drifts that came up past his ankles, his own lantern swinging from one gloved hand. The valley was dead silent by the time he reached the bridge. No wind, no owls, not even the creak of ice on the river below. At the far end, exactly where it always burned, the bridge lantern flickered against the dark, steady and untouched despite the still air. Elias stepped onto the bridge just as a distant clock tower in town. Nobody in Ash Hollow could ever say afterward which building even had a working clock, struck 12 slow, heavy tolls. On the 12th toll, a figure was simply there, standing at the far end of the bridge beside the burning lantern, where a moment before there had been nothing but snow and shadow. He was an old man, dressed in clothes decades out of fashion even by 1894 standards, a long dark coat, the kind of boots miners had worn back before the war, a face weathered into deep creases by more winters than Elias' cowl.
Listen to the rain hammer the roof and watch the empty streets of Hollow Creek through the windshield and thought about what a strange place this was. Then he heard the bells. Skull, not church bells, not wind chimes, something smaller, something ankle height, the kind of sound that comes from decorative bells sewn onto the hem of a dress. Rhythmic, deliberate, moving through the rain. Daniel rolled down his window slightly and looked out. The street was empty. The bells got louder. Then a voice, low, wrong, coming from directly behind his car. Time to go. The laughter that followed was not human. Daniel didn't remember making the decision to get out of the car. He just found himself standing in the rain with the door hanging open and something pulling him backward by his collar, and the last thing anyone in Hollow Creek heard was his voice cutting off mid-scream. Face screaming in fear. By morning, the only evidence that Daniel Webb had ever been in Hollow Creek was his rental car, still parked on Route 9, driver's door open, interior soaked through, with deep drag marks in the mud leading away from it toward the old Hargrove ruins at the edge of town. His body was never found. Skull. The Hargrove ruins had been the central feature of every Hollow Creek nightmare for 30 years. They sat at the far end of Creek Road, the collapsed remains of what had once been the grandest house in 3 counties, burned to the foundation in 1994 under circumstances that the official report called undetermined, and that every Hollow Creek resident called something else entirely. Don't go near the ruins. Every parent in Hollow Creek told every child from the time they were old enough to understand the words. Don't go near the ruins. Don't go near them in the day. Never go near them at night. Never go near them in the rain, anxious face with sweat. The town council, led by Mayor Gerald Stanton, who had held the position for 22 years, reinforced this with official policy. No trespassing signs. A chain-link fence. He couldn't hold back anymore. Tell me something. Why is this diner open at 2 in the morning in the middle of these woods? Who even comes here? Everyone went silent after his question. The lantern flame flared once, then dimmed. Son, the people who come here are the ones who've lost their way, and the ones the night itself has called for. Nobody called me here. My grandfather called me. The man on the bench smiled again, faintly. Ethan was starting to feel genuinely strange now. An unnamed fear had settled into him. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew through outside. The lantern shook violently, and at that exact moment, from somewhere behind the diner, came the faint sound of a woman crying. The cup nearly slipped from Ethan's hand. He turned, startled, toward the dark woods behind them. What was that sound? Who's out there? Is someone crying? For a moment, silence fell over the diner again. Son, the dark of night carries a lot of sounds. Not every sound is real. But sir, I heard it clearly. Someone was crying. Sometimes a tired mind makes its own sounds. Maybe it was just your imagination. Ethan looked back again. There was nothing now but darkness. Deep, silent, terrifying darkness. The wind picked up again. The tree branches swayed as if someone were hiding among them, laughing softly. Ethan grabbed his bag quickly. No, I should get going. My grandfather will be waiting. Millbridge is straight ahead from here, right? The old man said nothing, just pointed silently down the path ahead. Walk straight ahead, but don't look back. Ethan paused for a moment. But why? What happens if I look back? Because some things can only be seen from behind. Ethan's throat went dry. He didn't say anything else. He just walked quickly out of the diner. The night had grown even deeper. Ethan walked fast, the sound of that crying still echoing in his ears. Several times he felt as though someone was walking behind him. But remembering the diner owner's words,
And exactly what would happen to Ash Hollow if he refused. He knelt down, relit the old iron lantern with trembling hands, and watched the flame catch and steady against the dark. The same flame, he realized with a chill, that had likely been kept burning by some other frightened, guilty man 100 years before him, and some other before that. Elias Turner never returned to Ash Hollow after that night. His little post office sat locked and untouched. His horse was found wandering near the bridge a week later, and the town, after enough seasons of quiet mourning, simply stopped asking what had become of him. But travelers passing through the Montana high country, even generations later, tell the same story about the old footbridge outside what used to be Ash Hollow. Every night at midnight, a lantern burns steady at the far end, and if you look closely enough in the dark, you can just make out a man standing beside it. His coat old-fashioned, his face never quite visible no matter how close you get. And if anyone is foolish enough to try to put that light out, the story goes, By morning, that person's name will have vanished completely from every memory in town, as if they had never once existed at all. Nothing left behind of them but a trail of wet footprints leading down to the river, and a lantern that somehow, impossibly, is already burning again.